December 11th, 1941, 3:12 p.m. The Reichstag, Berlin. The applause thunders through the chamber like artillery fire. Adolf Hitler grips the wooden podium, his knuckles white, his voice raw with contempt. Behind him, rows of uniformed deputies leap to their feet, arms thrust forward in salute. Outside, snow blankets the German capital. Inside, the Führer is making a declaration that will seal the fate of the Third Reich. Germany hereby declares war on the United States of America. The words echo off marble walls. Somewhere in the crowd, Foreign Minister Joachim von Ribbentrop permits himself a thin smile. The decision feels almost casual. After all, what threat could America possibly pose? In the Wolfschanz, the Wolf's Lair, just days earlier, Hitler had dismissed American industrial capacity with a wave of his hand. They build refrigerators, he sneered to his generals, washing machines, automobiles for fat housewives. His voice dripped with disdain. These people cannot build tanks. They do not have the will. They do not have the steel in their spines. The generals nodded. They had reason to believe him. The Wehrmacht had crushed Poland in 27 days. France, the great power that had humiliated Germany in 1918, fell in 6 weeks. The Soviet Union was reeling, its armies shattered, its cities burning. German panzers had rolled to the gates of Moscow. The Reich controlled more territory than any European empire since Napoleon. And America? America was an ocean away, still recovering from the Depression, its army smaller than Portugal's, its tanks obsolete, its population soft from years of peace and prosperity. German intelligence reports painted a picture of industrial chaos. American factories were disorganized. Their workers lacked discipline. Their machines were designed for consumer goods, not the brutal mathematics of modern warfare. The Americans will need years to mobilize, Wehrmacht logistics officers concluded. By then, the war will be over. In Detroit, the automobile plant stood silent on that December evening. Snow drifted against the massive windows of the Ford Rouge complex. The assembly lines that had once produced Model TS and Mercurys sat dormant, waiting. But if Hitler had looked closer, if his intelligence services had understood what they were truly seeing, he would have noticed something terrifying. Those assembly lines weren't broken. They were empty. Empty because they were being cleared, retooled, transformed. Within weeks, those same factories that Hitler mocked will begin producing something far more dangerous than refrigerators. And somewhere in Washington, a man named William Knudsen, the Danish immigrant who had built General Motors into an empire, was sitting across from President Franklin Roosevelt, receiving the most audacious production order in human history. What Hitler didn't know was about to bury him. January 1942, Detroit, Michigan, the Ford Willow Run complex. The ground shakes, not from bombs, not yet, but from something equally powerful. The rhythmic thunder of 10,000 hammers. The shriek of metal being torn, bent, welded, reborn. The roar of furnaces burning around the clock, their orange glow visible for miles against a frozen Michigan night. Charles Sorensen stands on a catwalk above the factory floor, watching the impossible become real. Below him stretches the largest room under one roof in human history. A single assembly line running more than a mile long. 3 weeks ago, this space held nothing but concrete and ambition. Now, aluminum skeletons are taking shape. Fuselages, wings, tail sections, each one destined to become AB-24 Liberator heavy bomber. Sorensen had promised Roosevelt 1 bomber per hour. His engineers told him it couldn't be done. He fired the ones who said it loudest. Across America, the same transformation is erupting with volcanic force. In Los Angeles, aircraft plants that produce 12 planes per month are now producing 12 per day. In Pennsylvania, steel mills that once shut down on Sundays now burn through the Sabbath without pause. In shipyard from Maine to California, the keel of a new Liberty ship is being laid every 48 hours. And the workers, God, the workers, they pour through factory gates at shift changes like human rivers. Men too old for combat, boys too young to shave, and women, millions of women, trading kitchen aprons for welding masks, their hands learning to shape the steel that will crush fascism. They work 12-hour shifts, sometimes 16. Sleep is a luxury. Complaints are unpatriotic. When a welder collapses from exhaustion at the Chrysler Tank Arsenal, her replacement is on the line within minutes. Production never stops. The numbers beggar belief. In 1941, the United States produced 4,052 tanks. By 1943, that number will explode to 29,497. Aircraft production will leap from 19,433 to 85,898. American shipyards will launch more tonnage in 1943 alone than Japan built in the entire decade before the war. But Hitler isn't watching. His eyes are fixed on Stalingrad, where the Sixth Army is bleeding to death in frozen rubble. His generals are screaming for reinforcements, for supplies, for the fuel that German panzers desperately need. The Eastern Front devours men and machines faster than the Reich can replace them. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, the first convoys are preparing to sail, hold after hold packed with crates, rifles, ammunition, medical supplies, tanks wrapped in protective grease. Sherman tanks, fresh from the assembly lines of Detroit, destined for North African sand. Jeeps by the thousands, trucks by the tens of thousands. The arsenal of democracy is opening for business. And in Berlin, no one is laughing anymore. But the true reckoning hasn't arrived. Not yet. That will come on a beach in Normandy, when German defenders look toward the horizon and see something that freezes the blood in their veins. An ocean of steel. June 6, 1944, 6:47 a.m. Omaha Beach, Normandy. Feldwebel Heinrich Severloh presses his eye to the MG-42's iron sights and feels his stomach turn to ice. The sea is gone. In its place, metal. Boats. Thousands of boats, stretching the horizon in every direction, so thick upon the water that the English Channel itself seems to have transformed into a highway of steel. Landing craft by the hundreds churn toward the beach, their ramps still raised. Packed with men he will soon try to kill. Severloh squeezes the trigger. The machine gun screams. Tracers arc across the morning sky. American soldiers fall, dozens, then hundreds, their bodies crumpling into the surf, blood swirling in the foam. For agonizing hours, the German defenders believe they are winning. But Heinrich Severloh is about to learn what Hitler never understood. You can kill Americans. You cannot kill American production. For every Sherman tank destroyed on the beach, 3 more roll out of Detroit. For every landing craft shattered by artillery, 10 more are already crossing the Atlantic. For every rifle dropped in the bloody sand, a factory worker in Connecticut is boxing another one for shipment. The Germans have no such luxury. When a Panzer IV is knocked out near St. Lo, there is no replacement coming. When a Messerschmitt is shot from the sky above, the Luftwaffe grows weaker by one aircraft it cannot afford to lose. German factories, pulverized by Allied bombing raids, struggle to produce a fraction of what they could in 1942. The mathematics are apocalyptic. By the summer of 1944, America is producing 1 aircraft every 5 minutes, 1 Sherman tank every 7 minutes. Germany, choking on fuel shortages and smashed rail lines, cannot even move the weapons it does build to where they are needed. And the Shermans keep coming. They pour through the hedgerows of Normandy. They rumble across the fields of France. They are not the best tanks in the war. German Panthers and Tigers outclass them in armor and firepower. But it doesn't matter. The Americans lose 3 Shermans to kill 1 Tiger. So they send 4, then 5, then 20. Wehrmacht veterans, hardened by years of combat, begin to crack under the psychological weight of American abundance. A captured German officer, interrogated near Avranches, stares at the endless columns of trucks rolling past and whispers a single sentence that captures the entire war. We cannot fight against an army that has everything. They tried anyway. In the Ardennes, in December 1944, Hitler launches his final desperate gamble, a massive armored offensive designed to split the Allied lines and capture the vital port of Antwerp. German panzers surge forward through frozen forests, catching American forces off guard. For 72 hours, It almost works. But what happens next will prove, once and for all, that the man who laughed at American factories had signed his own death warrant. December 22nd, 1944. Bastogne, Belgium. The fog lifts, and with it, the last hope of the Third Reich dies. For 6 days, the 101st Airborne Division has held Bastogne against overwhelming German forces. Surrounded, outgunned, running low on ammunition, food, and medical supplies. When German commanders sent a messenger demanding surrender, Brigadier General Anthony McAuliffe gave a one-word reply that would echo through history. Nuts! But defiance alone cannot stop panzers. The Americans need relief. They need fuel. They need the one thing Hitler swore they could never deliver. They need the arsenal of democracy. It arrives with thunder. The moment sky is clear, wave after wave of sea, 47 transport aircraft roar over Bastogne, dropping parachutes that blossom like white flowers against the gray winter sky. Ammunition crates crash into frozen fields. Medical supplies drift toward desperate hands. Within hours, the siege is broken, not by superior tactics, but by superior logistics. Meanwhile, General George Patton performs a miracle of movement that German generals will study in disbelief for decades. His Third Army, 140,000 men, thousands of tanks and vehicles, pivots 90 degrees and advances over 100 miles through freezing weather in 48 hours. Such a maneuver should be impossible. But Patton has something German commanders no longer possess. Endless fuel, endless trucks, endless replacement parts. When a Sherman throws a track near Luxembourg, mechanics cannibalize parts from a supply column and have it running within hours. When fuel runs low, a convoy of tanker trucks materializes from France. The German offensive shatters against this wall of abundance. By January 1945, the Wehrmacht has lost over 100,000 men and 800 irreplaceable tanks. For every German vehicle destroyed, there is no factory waiting to build another, no fuel depot ready to fill its tanks, no trained crew prepared to man it. For America, losses are replaced within weeks. The final drive into Germany becomes less a battle than an execution. Sherman tanks cross the Rhine at Remagen. 51 Mustangs, 8,000 of them built in a single year, own skies that German pilots once dominated. American artillery shells fall so thickly that Wehrmacht soldiers describe the experience as being crushed beneath an iron sky. And in his bunker beneath Berlin, Adolf Hitler finally understands. The refrigerators, the washing machines, the automobiles for fat housewives, they were never weaknesses. They were proof that American factories could build anything, in any quantity, faster than any nation on earth. He had laughed at assembly lines. Those assembly lines built 49,234 Sherman tanks, 276,000 aircraft, 2,710 Liberty ships, enough bullets to circle the globe twice over. He had mocked American workers. Those workers, the women, the elderly, the teenagers, outproduced the entire Axis by a factor 3. He had dismissed an ocean. That ocean delivered 22 million tons of supplies to crush his Reich into dust. On April 30th, 1945, Adolf Hitler raises a Walther PPK pistol to his temple, above his head. The factories of Detroit are already retooling for peacetime. They don't even pause.